What is up, Hardcore Nation? It's Hardcore Christopher here, and I'm going off the beaten path because this isn't an attack on anyone, but I want to make something crystal clear. I have watched channels, Christian channels recently, and they said something very
Say goodbye to daily insulin injections. Omnipod is a tubeless waterproof pod built to simplify life with diabetes. Try it today. Go to omnipod.com for risk information, instructions for use, and free trial terms and conditions. Consult your healthcare provider before.
and they all have the same thing that they say about women. Particularly 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 12. And it reads as this. It reads such as this. But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority. That means to assert her authority over the man, but to be in silence. Now, I've heard and I've seen a lot of videos on the internet stating that 1 Timothy 2:12 means women are not allowed to preach. That seems a little weird to me. So this comes from BibleRef.com, and let's look at the explanation. Verse 11 presented what at first appears to be a controversial statement. Viewed in full context, however, Paul has simply stated that women should not be flagrant or excessively loud or frenzied during a church gathering, just as clothing should reflect a controlled, reasonable person, so too should behavior in a church service reflect godly peace. However, how then is this phrase regarding women and teaching to be understood? In the local church, Paul specified men as elders, 1 Timothy chapter 3, verses 1 through 7, and most likely as deacons, 1 Timothy chapter 3, verses 8 through 13. The point made in the New Testament is not that adult women can never teach adult men, as both Priscilla and her husband Aquila did exactly that with Apollos in Acts 18, chapter 18, verse 26. Phoebe also served in some type of church. That could be, I think that's Phoebe, of church leadership role, with some believing her role of servant was as a deacon, Romans chapter 16, verse 1. However, men are consistently specified as the primary local church leaders in the role of the elders. The key is not the term
She walks down every aisle. She talks to people. Then she has to find someone tall to get stuff off the top shelf. It's a circus.
diskin, referring to teaching, but the Greek word translated as exercise authority, authoritan, actually it's authoritan. This word means to assume a stance of independent authority, give orders to, or dictate to. In simple terms, women are not to serve in the role of elder or attempt to lead in the specific ways in which elders are expected to lead. Though women were not and are not excluded from praying in church gatherings, men were taught to take leadership in this area. The represented reference to quietness here, again, has more to do with self-control than with absolute lack of sound. Women were not to overtake a worship service by taking control of public prayers or teaching, and especially not through hysterics or commotion. Elders were expected to oversee instruction and prayer in the church. 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 33, verses 33 through 35 notes that this practice was not limited to Ephesians. It was true in all early churches. Okay. So that's all 1 Timothy 2, chapter 12. Chapter 2, verse 12 means. But also back in the day, the churches had the men sitting on one side and the women sitting on the other. And if the women had a question, they would look over at their husband, who was on the other side of the aisle, and they'd be like, "Honey, what does that mean?" And Paul's basically like, "Don't do that." So, are women permitted to be pastors? Well, yes. Because if Priscilla and Aquila, who taught Apollos, then that would mean that women are allowed to teach a congregation. That's all. So, I hope you all enjoyed. I'm Hardcore Christopher. Keep it hardcore, everyone.